When they opened the fireplaces, they found the bones of children. When they checked the walls, they found more. When they drained the moat, they stopped counting. The castle belonged to the most celebrated knight in France, a man who had fought beside Joan of Arc, a man the king had personally decorated, a man that children, including his victims, had no reason to fear. His name was Gilles de Rais, and the horror of his story is not just what he did, it is everything he was before it. The hero France loved. Gilles de Rais was born in 1404 into one of the wealthiest noble families in France. By 25, he was already a legend. He had fought in some of the most brutal battles of the 100 Years' War and survived them all. In 1429, he rode beside Joan of Arc at the Siege of Orleans, one of the most celebrated victories in French history. When the siege broke, Gilles de Rais was at her side. When France celebrated, his name was among the first spoken. King Charles VII gave him the title Marshal of France, the highest military honor in the kingdom. Crowds gathered when he passed through cities. Poets wrote about him. Children looked up at him on his horse and saw a hero. Then, Joan was captured, burned at the stake in 1431, and Gilles de Rais rode home. He closed the castle doors behind him, and the disappearances began. The disappearances. The children started vanishing around 1432. Boys, mostly, between the ages of 6 and 18, from the villages surrounding his estates. The method was always the same. A servant of Gilles de Rais would appear in a poor village. He would say the Lord needed a page boy. He would say it was an honor. Poor families believed him. The children left with the servant. They did not come back. The families asked questions. They were told the boy was at a distant castle. They were told he was well. The villages whispered to each other in the dark. But Gilles de Rais was the hero of Orleans. No one whispered loudly enough. Inside the upper rooms. What happened inside was recorded in the trial transcripts, documents that still exist in French archives today. The children were brought through a back entrance, taken upstairs. He would speak with them first, calm them, earn their trust. One servant testified that the children were often still smiling when they were led to the upper room. They had no reason yet to be afraid. They were in the home of a marshal of France. What followed was described in the confession. The torture was deliberate, extended, methodical. He confessed calmly in open court that he found the suffering itself to be the purpose, not the death, the time before it. He confessed to keeping the heads of his victims afterward, to comparing them, to deciding among the dead which ones he found most beautiful. The courtroom fell completely silent. He continued. He described ordering his servants to burn the remains in the castle fireplaces, to seal others inside the walls, to throw the rest into the moat. The servants obeyed because they were more afraid of him than of God. This went on for 8 years. 80 to 200 children. The true number was never confirmed. Too much had been destroyed. The darkness below the darkness. As his fortune collapsed from years of excess, Guy de Rais descended further. He began performing occult rituals. He summoned men who claimed they could conjure demons. He believed demonic power could restore what he had spent. In those rituals, he offered what demons were said to demand: the remains of children. The same hands that had carried a sword for France. The same man crowds had cheered in the streets. He confessed to this too, in the same flat, composed voice. A bishop at the judge's table covered his face.
The confession.
In 1440, Gilles de Rais seized a priest during a property dispute. The church investigated. Investigators entered his castles. The bones were found. The servants confessed. The parents arrived, one after another, faces the court had not expected. He was brought to trial in Nantes. He initially denied everything. Then the church threatened excommunication, eternal damnation, not just death. And something inside him broke completely open. He confessed for hours, unprompted, unstoppable. The judges asked him to stop 3 separate times. He refused all 3. He said the world needed to hear what he had done. He said the dead deserved to have it spoken aloud, in full, in front of everyone. When he finally finished, the courtroom was weeping. The judges wept. The bishops wept. The parents of the dead children who had come to see him condemned wept. Gilles de Rais wept most of all. He turned to the families. He begged them to pray for his soul. Some said they would. The parents of the children he had killed said they would pray for the soul of the man who killed them.
The end.
On October 26, 1440, Gilles de Rais was hanged. 36 years old. He died with his eyes closed. The court granted him a final mercy. His body was removed before the fire beneath him was lit, in acknowledgement of his confession and his tears. He was buried in a church. The same man who was buried there had ridden beside Joan of Arc, had stood in the light of France's greatest victory, had been called in his own lifetime a hero. All of it was the same man. The battlefield and the upper rooms. The same hands. The same face. That is the thing about Gilles de Rais that history cannot resolve. He was not a shadow that crept through the dark. He was not a monster that hid in obscurity. He was celebrated, visible, trusted. Children looked up at him on his horse in the street and felt safe. And later, when his servant came to their door and said the Lord needed a page boy, they let their sons go. Because he was the hero of Orleans. Because who could fear a man like that? The bones in the fireplace, the heads he kept, the upper rooms his servants could not enter. None of it visible from the street. None of it visible from the battlefield. None of it visible from the face that France had loved.